When you look at the Marvel Cinematic Universe over the past 17 years, it tells a story that's as much about audience behavior as it is about superheroes. If we start back in 2008 with Iron Man, Marvel's modern era launches with a critical darling, a 94% on Rotten Tomatoes, and a domestic gross of $318 million. It's the perfect foundation: strong reviews, a charismatic lead, and the novelty of a shared universe in its infancy. The follow-up that same year, The Incredible Hulk, drops to 67% and just $135 million. It's a reminder that even in the MCU's golden glow, not every property will resonate. Iron Man 2, in 2010, recovers at the box office, pulling $312 million with a 72% score, showing that audiences were still showing up even for middling reviews when the larger Marvel picture was still fresh. Thor in 2011 lands a respectable 77% and $181 million. And Captain America, the first Avenger, posts 79% with $177 million. Both steady, if unspectacular, entries. Then comes The Avengers in 2012, the first true MCU event film, with a 91% score and a massive $623 million domestic haul. Here's where the pattern begins to emerge. Great reviews, huge cultural anticipation, and the promise of payoff all combine to produce extraordinary results. Phase 2 starts with Iron Man 3 in 2013, which earns $409 million on a 79% score. The audience goodwill from the Avengers carries it far, even though the reviews aren't quite as strong as the original Iron Man. Thor: The Dark World stumbles both critically and commercially with 66% and $206 million, while Captain America the Winter Soldier soars on 90% and climbs to $260 million. Proof that strong reviews and a tonal shift can elevate a character's profile. Then Guardians of the Galaxy hits 92% and $333 million, a breakout success for a previously unknown property, driven largely by critics championing its humor and style. Avengers: Age of Ultron still earns $459 million, but with a cooler 76% score, it's a touch less beloved than the first team-up. Ant-Man closes the phase at 83% and $180 million, a smaller-scale win that performs as expected for a lower-tier hero. Through these years, there's still a fairly tight connection between positive reviews and strong box office. The better the reception, the better the legs. Phase 3 is where Marvel perfects the formula, and the correlation between Rotten Tomatoes scores and revenue becomes almost linear. Captain America: Civil War lands 90% and $408 million, functioning essentially as Avengers 2.5. Doctor Strange follows with 89% and $233 million, a solid launch for a new character. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 scores 85% and $390 million, holding most of its predecessor's audience. Spider-Man: Homecoming brings 92% and $334 million, while Thor: Ragnarok delivers 93% and $315 million by reinventing its lead character. Black Panther is the apex, 96% from critics and $700 million domestic, fueled by cultural significance and near-universal praise. Avengers: Infinity War comes in at 85% and $679 million, while Ant-Man and the Wasp does a respectable $217 million with 87%. Captain Marvel hits 79% and $427 million, and then Avengers: Endgame peaks with 94% and $858 million, the highest domestic gross in MCU history. Spider-Man: Far From Home ends the phase at 90% and $391 million. In this period, high scores almost always equal high returns, and every film feels like an essential chapter. Phase 4 is when the stability starts to crack. Black Widow launches with 79% and $184 million, hampered by its pandemic-era day-and-date release on streaming. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings earns glowing reviews at 91% and a healthy $225 million, especially for a character without prior screen exposure. Then comes Eternals with a 47% score, the lowest in MCU history, and it struggles to $165 million. The exception in this phase is Spider-Man: No Way Home, with a 93% score and a staggering $805 million. It proves the MCU can still command massive audiences when the hook is undeniable. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness scores 74% and makes $411 million, while Thor: Love and Thunder earns 63% and $343 million, showing sharper drop-offs in the weeks after release. Black Panther: Wakanda Forever climbs back to 84% and $454 million, boosted by emotional resonance and strong word of mouth. The trend is changing, reviews still matter, but the concept, timing, and urgency of the story are now equally critical to performance. Phase 5 shows just how fast and unforgiving the market has become. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania posts a 46% score and $215 million, the weakest Ant-Man performance despite being positioned as the kickoff to Marvel's next saga. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 earns 82% and $359 million, a solid result for a well-reviewed trilogy. Closer, The Marvels manages only 62% and bottoms out at $85 million domestic, the lowest MCU gross to date. Then Deadpool and Wolverine releases with a 78% score, but dominates at $637 million, showing that star power and event status can still overcome less than stellar reviews. More recent entries like Captain America: Brave New World, 50% RT, about $200 million domestic so far, Thunderbolts, 88% and around $190 million, and Fantastic Four, First Steps, 86% and roughly $212 million, suggests that while strong reviews can help new entries make a splash, they don't guarantee MCU-level legs without a compelling narrative hook. Looking at the entire run and release order, 3 patterns emerge. In phases 1 through 3, there's a strong positive relationship between critical reception and box office. Films with high Rotten Tomatoes scores generally outgross their lower-rated peers, and the shared universe structure creates momentum that lifts even weaker entries. In Phase 4, that relationship weakens. Strong reviews still correlate with stronger legs, as with Shang-Chi or Wakanda Forever, but they're not enough to lift a film that audiences don't see as essential. By Phase 5, reviews act more as a validator than a driver. They can't save a poorly marketed or narratively unconvincing film, but they can amplify interest in one that already has an irresistible premise. So, is Marvel hype dying? The numbers say it's not dead, but it's no longer automatic. In the first decade, Marvel could release almost anything with their logo on it and expect solid returns if critics responded well. Now, they have to earn attention with either cultural significance, true event status, or a clear reason for audiences to show up on opening weekend. Rotten Tomatoes scores still matter, but in today's MCU, they're the spark, not the fuel.